Every Orientalist from Occident had made such blunders till now about the Eastern teachings, because he was only a scholar of the textbook, not having the tradition. He made the same blunders as he made with the Old Testament. Many places in the Old Testament we find same mistakes and blunders committed when translated into English. That's why the English translation is meaningless in some places. For example, in the book of Exodus, when God speaks with Moses, he says, "You should not worship other gods. I am a jealous God." Such meaningless, dirty translations are there. If God were to be jealous, how can he be God? He can be only a poor human being. It was not jealous. If we go to the original Hebrew poem, there it is said, "I am unique and I am one, and I don't admit the existence of any second being in this creation, because I exist as all of you." That is the original meaning of the poem. And the translator translated it, "I am a jealous God." So they tried to do the same thing with the Indian scriptures also. So whenever you want to study the history of Sanskrit literature, you find that Kapila was a great scholar and a founder of some philosophy. But in fact, he is a Deva who presides over number consciousness. So he exists in space. He begins to work in the atoms, and then he works in the embryos. And then when the construction of the body is complete, he exists in the mind and functions with the numbers, as a result of which the living beings know the numbers. This is what it means. Exactly, Pythagoras gave us the same teaching, that numbers are creative intelligences existing in space and time. So he wanted to use the fourfold key to understand the meaning of creation. Just as we have the meaning of sentence we utter as our own idea to express, nature has its own meaning, which is its own idea to express, and it expresses through the fourfold keyboard. This is one of the teachings of Pythagoras, which tallies to a great extent with the key of the ancient scriptures. One branch of scriptures called the Tantras and the Yoga literature. I will explain about them also a little bit. We have 5 sense organs, and they are 5 senses, seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching. These are the 5 senses, which are 5 functions of the mind. It is the mind that is working through these 5, and they have their own outer expressions. For the seeing or sight, you have color. For hearing, you have sound. For smelling, you have the smell. For tasting, you have the taste. For touching, you have the sense of touch. The object of touch. These are called objects which form the environment. When properly used, they make the senses introvert and they merge in the mind, and the mind merges in the real existence of the Lord in you, whom you call I am. You can use all the five to produce the effect. For example, with the required colors, you can prepare a room where you can conduct the experiment, or you can prepare a picture with good colors, and you can produce sounds in such a way that they will make the senses merge in your mind. The technique is called music in its good sense. Similarly, you can use all the five and make the senses merge in the mind, and the mind merge in yourself, the I am in you, who is called the Lord in the yoga literature. In Sanskrit, the Lord is called Isha or Ishvara, who is located in the heart and lungs, conducting the functions of the respiration and the heartbeat even while we are sleeping, because it is only the mind and the senses that sleep, and the I am never sleeps. So when these fellows are sleeping, the Lord is awake, and hence the lungs and heart are functioning. It is a direct proof that the heart and lungs are the seat of the Lord, whereas the brain and the spinal column is the seat of the mind and the senses. So when sleep occurs to the mind and senses, and sleep never occurs to the respiration and heartbeat until the Lord proposes to leave the body. Generally speaking, the mind and senses exist in the brain, and when they are made to approach the Lord in the heart and lungs, the man in you begins to approach the Lord in you. And when the union is complete, there is a happy communion between man and the Lord, and there is oneness. And this is what is called yoga in its true sense. The process is called yoga practice. This is the main purpose of yoga practice. When you take the five objects of the senses to help this end, then the technique is called the science of Tantra. Unfortunately, in the Occident, the word Tantra is used nowadays in a very beastly sense, as something dealing with sex, etc. But sex is also used for the same purpose in the Tantra, by the husband to the wife and by the wife to the husband. And this is possible only if a person lives from his childhood according to the discipline and regulations prescribed in the same Tantra textbooks. So the Tantric literature is something different from what the present Occidentalist thinks about them. There is much nasty literature about these Tantras nowadays, but this is the main content of the Tantras. They are very, very sacred books, and when this fivefold keyboard is taken into consideration, you have much similarity with the fourfold keyboard given by Pythagoras, and we can understand how Pythagoras was a master of the true keys of the wisdom of many nations. He was not only a scholar, because mere scholarship is not enough to teach these things to the world. A scholar can give you only the burden of knowledge, and make your mind exhaust. But a master like Pythagoras, he transmits the wisdom through these true keys. So, when you find the explanation of the keyboard of Pythagoras and compare it with the fivefold keyboard of the Tantras, you will find an exact similarity and a similarity in the method of teaching also. This is one aspect of his teaching. And for each sound, he has given an equating number, also a shape. So he has given equations between any two of these fourfold keyboard. For example, he used the point for number 1, and just as he used the circle for the 0, and he used the semicircle for 2, he used a triangle for 3, a quadrangle for 4, a pentagon for 5, a double triangle for 6, a triangle and a square for 7, because it is 3 and 4. He called the combination the temple tower. Always he said 7 the temple tower. And he used the double square for number 8. He used a figure of 9 dots for number 9. So, similarly, he equated the sound A with 1. And if you go through the Pythagorean key of sounds and numbers and compare it with the key of the scriptures, that is, for example, the key that is given in the Hebrew, you will find it well compared in the works of Blavatsky in her Isis Unveiled and Secret Doctrine. So, he used all these things as means of transmitting his knowledge, that is, as an alphabet of his wisdom. If you go into the science of the 6 chakras, you will find the same symbols given by the ancient Indian scripture authors. A sound is given to each chakra and the spinal column, and a group of sounds again to each chakra, a color to each chakra. And we have to understand that whenever there is an attempt to produce that particular sound, or whenever we enjoy that particular color, the attempt comes from that chakra and that center. Suppose I want to utter A or Ka, the effort comes from the throat center. I want to utter Ra or Ta, the attempt comes from the head center. Like this, every center is a center of some sounds and some colors. This key is given in the yogic textbooks, and it has much in common with the teachings of Pythagoras. This is one peculiar aspect. And we go to a second aspect of his teaching. Using his shape and number put together, he has given us the wisdom of father, mother and child. How the first cause or the God works as father, how nature differentiates from him and works as the mother, and before that how the father and mother put together was 1. Before that, how it was a 0? That is space. According to Pythagoras, the definition of space is a very peculiar one. He says that space is a globe or a sphere geometrically, and it is a 0 numerically. So space is numerically a 0 and geometrically a globe. That is his definition. And in it, consciousness exists dissolved, and this state is called subjectivity. It is sleep to the son, awareness to the father. This is about space. The father consciousness is aware in space. The son consciousness is sleeping in space. And the process of sleep and awakening alternate. After a period of awakening, consciousness goes into sleep, and the one who is existing in space is awake. So when the whole world goes into dissolution, the indweller is awake, whereas the creation is in sleep. Once again there is the awakening, and the creation is awake, and the indweller is in sleep in everyone. So Pythagoras says the birth of man consciousness is the death of God consciousness. Here death means sleep. God exists in us in sleep state because we are sleeping to Him and we are awake to ourselves. This is one of his peculiar expressions. And in the sleep state, there is only space, which can be called 0 numerically and a globe geometrically. And in it there will be an awakening of an individual consciousness. And the meaning of the awakening is the total I am of one whole creation. And it is numerically 1 and geometrically a point. And from it there is a differentiation of the awakened consciousness into consciousness and force. And the force works as nature, and the consciousness is born, and consciousness works as the parent. So after the first differentiation, the consciousness which is awakened works as father, and nature or force works as mother. And the result is the third side of the triangle, the creation in the form of child. This is his first expression and teaching about the triangle. You will find big commentaries and explanations upon this. For the first time in the English language, in the Secret Doctrine of Blavatsky, and then in the books of Alice A. Bailey. These are the only 2 standard works on the teachings of Pythagoras. Here is a peculiar teaching in the next step involved. These things we know, but we don't know why they are like that. Here Pythagoras teaches us something. You can copy as it is. The next I will explain. 2 into 2 is equal to 4. 3 into 3 is equal to 9. 4 plus 9 is 13. You have it as one expression called expression A. Add 2 and 3, you have 5, and have 5 square as 25. You have B. Now take this number as father and have an equal number as mother. You have 25 plus 1, because the 1 is called the child or the creation. You can take the next two numbers also. We can do it here. 3 into 3 is equal to 9. 4 into 4 is equal to 16. The total is 25. Have it as A. 3 plus 4 is 7. 7 square 49. So 25 plus 25 is equal to 49 plus 1 are the child. Any two consecutive numbers taken like this and the square of the numbers added and the square of the total of the numbers added makes a difference of 1, which is this creation. And he says, when this is a right angle, that is 90 degrees, the square on the hypotenuse is equal to the sum of the squares on the other two sides, and the one which is extra is called the content of the triangle, which is the threefold nature of creation. And he says the threefold nature of creation is the subject, object and predicate of the sentence. In his teaching, the subject means God, the object means the creation, and the predicate means the energy or the power in nature, which we call the action. And the subject is called Father, the object is called the Son, and the action is called the Mother. So the whole creation is the utterance of a sentence, and the meaning of the sentence is the threefold existence of living beings. We exist in a threefold way, that is ourselves and the objective world different from ours, and our relationship with the rest of the world. Without these three things, our mind can never exist. For example, if we are reading, we must have a book to read, ourselves as the reader, and the process of reading as the action. If we are eating, there is the object, the food, the subject as the eater, and the action or the process as eating. If we want to think, we must be the thinker. There must be a thought or an object for thinking, and then the action or the process of thinking. Nothing exists without these three things. So he called it the triangle of existence. The Hungarian adept called Saint Germain called the same thing the Holy Trinosophia. He explained it further. And whenever a person approached Pythagoras and wanted to join as his disciple, he brought a big plate with crystal sand from the river and a small rod, and he asked the fellow to draw a triangle on the sand. With the shape of the triangle he has drawn, Pythagoras used to understand everything of the person who has come, about his past lives, his present state of evolution, and about his probable future. And then he used to advise him whether to continue or go away from him as a disciple. Of course, he allowed some people to continue as disciples, but he never cared to teach them secrets because they were not interested. He used to appoint them for certain works. For example, to organize gatherings, to convey messages, etc. So he used to understand the person and his nature, his psychology, whether he is fit to do the deeper work or only surface work, whether he is interested in the secret work, secret knowledge, or is he having only a glamour of the secret knowledge, or is he having a possessive nature of what he knows, that is greedy to know, and he used to judge and decide things and teach the disciple in the required direction. For all this, he used the triangle drawn by the disciple, and on the basis of the shape of that triangle, he used to decide. And for this, the formula he gave was father, mother, and child. This is how he called it. To make us understand this, he used to teach the right angle triangle.